Hopefully, you will remember from our first video in this chapter that the different functions that the HR department performs is not just limited to the HR department. And what HR does is applicable across the organization. Since they are responsible for taking care of the employees, setting them objectives, giving them rewards, they're also responsible for making sure that there are policies across the board which everyone is following. And that's really a way of saying for the business that every employee shall be treated the same way. The CEO shall follow the same rules as the guy who opens the door, for example. So different people within an organization will be working at different levels, but there will be certain rules, certain policies that will be applicable throughout the organization. And a couple of those are what we're going to discuss in this video by the name equality policy and diversity policy. Now, looking at the equality policy, what the word equality means is that you have the same treatment for every employee in the organization. And whether it's the manager, the workers, factory floor worker, the janitorial services, whichever worker, whatever level of work the worker is, everyone should be given the same opportunities in their capacity. Now, what this means is that whether you're a man, a woman, older, younger, if you're the right person for the job, if you have the right skill set, if you meet all the criteria for the vacancy, then you should be considered for that position. And in the end, if on merit you weren't selected, then that's fine, that's acceptable. But at least the option or the opportunity should be afforded to everyone in the organization to be able to become better versions of themselves. And equality is always a positive thing, right? What it does for an organization is it will yield many different benefits. First of all, and very much understandably, is that your workers will feel good about the fact that the business treats everyone equally. So if there's a job opening, you can all apply. If you don't meet the criteria, that's secondary to it, but at least the opportunity was open to everyone, and that's something that will keep the morals up. It will also develop a good reputation for the business that this is a fair business, an ethical business, a business that makes sure that all the workers feel that they're being treated equally. And everybody wants to work with a business that has an ethical side to it, which comes through this equality policy. Again, once you become famous, once you have a good reputation of a business that looks after its people, then you're going to start attracting the top talent in the industry. And that's always good for a business when you have more skilled, more talented people leaving the organization of your competitors and joining yours. It weakens them and strengthens your business. So it's a win-win for the business. And all of this will only bring positive contributions from everyone. That if we do our jobs right, if we perform, we will be considered for the next position in the hierarchy. And as long as everyone, all the organization's workers feel that way, that they have an opportunity to grow, then everyone will have positive things to contribute to the business. So that's what equality policy means. Diversity policy, on the other hand, is the set of practices or the processes that are aimed at creating a mixed workforce for the business. And having more diversity, more types of workers will only mean you get more ways of looking at the same problem, meaning more types of solutions can be given to the business by having a more diverse workforce. And think about it, think about a business like the airline business. Once you get on the plane, the captain comes on. Good evening, this is your captain Yaver speaking. We'll be flying on 36,000 feet and this and that. And for your assistance, we have stewards who can speak the following languages, and they will give you a whole list of languages that their entire workforce on that plane at the time can speak. Now, the only reason why they're able to have that program available is that they were smart enough to hire people of diverse, multiple backgrounds, so that if it's needed in work, which for an airline, you have people from all over the world speaking many different languages, not necessarily speaking English so well. So if you want to make them feel more comfortable, more welcome, then have a workforce which is diverse and which can cater to the different kinds of needs that will come up in a business like the airline industry. So creating a mixed workforce is only going to be beneficial. And the way to look at it is, once you have a diverse workforce, what you get is diversity in your ideas. New people will bring in obviously new ways of looking at the same things, maybe newer ideas. They will be able to serve your customers better, as I just explained to you through our airline example, that the customers may sometimes need, not just a matter of want, they will need someone who can speak their language. And if you have someone in your workforce who can do that, then it will obviously make for a happy customer, having more multilingual operations. So diversity will always be good for a business, to have that variety of programs that you can provide to your customers by having a workforce which has diverse experiences, and multi-skilled, multi-talented workforce will only be beneficial for a business. So those are a couple of policies which must be practiced across the organization, so that every employee in every department at every level feels like they have a chance to grow within the organization. Now, employee appraisal is the process that connects the overall company's objectives with the individual objectives of the employees. As you will remember, again, MBO, a company has its own objectives, profit maximization, growth, whatever that might be. And in order to achieve that, each individual employee must be given their objectives, which is in line with the overall corporate objective. So how are these employees given these objectives? Through an employee appraisal cycle. And this cycle would take place at the start of the year, and again, towards the end, a new one will begin. So it's a yearly thing mostly, but sometimes it may be done semi-annually as well. And now what happens in an appraisal cycle is, at the start of the year, let's say 1st January, a worker will sit down with their manager and they will list down the different objectives or the targets that worker will have for the rest of the year. And they're given certain parameters to work within. Look, this is your budget, this is what we require, this is what you can and cannot do, and this is what you need to have ready or done by the end of the year. And the worker then gets on working on that. They will spend the whole year. Maybe in some cases, at the end of a 6-month period, there will be a sort of a review of those objectives. They will sit down. Maybe if some objectives have to be added to that list, they would be. Maybe some have to be removed. They might be removed. And then we'll continue on till the end of the year. And at the end of the year, then the manager and the worker will sit down again and see how many of your objectives were you able to achieve. And not just how many, it will be a case of how well or how efficiently you were able to achieve those targets that the business gave you. Now, depending on the result of this appraisal cycle, your rewards will be determined. What the worker deserves, what should they be given a promotion, should they be given a company car. So your level of performance will determine your rewards, and that will come at the end of this appraisal cycle. Also, at the end of the year, when you sit down with your bosses and the appraisal cycle is complete, there will be a discussion about where your career is headed. What are the things that you need to learn? Are there any special skills? Are there any special trainings that you need to be given? And once all those are made part of your next year's appraisal, then that same thing will also be used for staff development. That if we can see this guy, if we can develop this employee for the next couple of years according to this plan, then maybe he can take the position of his boss one day. So establishing a career plan is important for the employee, of course. They want to see if they have a future in the business. Also for the business, it's important to know which of the employees do you want to develop for those more senior positions when they open up later. So a very critical point in a business, the employee appraisal cycle. This is where, of course, for all the employees, this is where the reward of the entire year's effort is decided. So they take it very seriously. In fact, if I could give you my example, I used to maintain a small diary writing down every little thing I do on a daily basis, and I would pull it out at the end of the year, show it to my boss that, look, I did so many things on so many days and this and that, and this is why I deserve my raise. So it's an open conversation where you're trying to convince your manager about your role in the organization and how you've done, how efficiently you've managed to obviously achieve your objectives, and how you are ready for that next stage in your career in the organization. And for the business to assess whether the employees are able to keep up with the pressure and if they are ready for a more senior position going forward. Employee appraisal.